Hey guys, this is David Jelks from Factor 3 Fitness, and one of the really interesting things I find about the whole fitness industry is that, of course, not only do we have a kind of a very wide and broad expanse of opinions on how things should be done, but of course we all often see success in all different various, even sometimes conflicting opinions. So meaning that if you look at various groups like the running group, and of course, and if that's a predominant part of what we do as far as our overall goals and intentions, we see some people have great success in running. We see some people go into yoga and have great success in yoga. We see some people in these various modalities, and we see them have all sorts of success. And yet perhaps when we try what they did, we didn't get what they got, right? And it's a point of frustration for a lot of people. So I think one of the most important things that we need to consider is that who the person was prior to them engaging in that particular activity or venue. And I think the backstory is the part that's never told, the backstory about why some people do really well in yoga and why some people don't, the backstory of why people do really well in running and why some people don't. Right, and that goes for CrossFit and pretty much any fitness endeavor that you can imagine. Some people will do really well and some people won't. So again, there's a big backstory behind all that, and that's the part we need to explore. But I think before you actually look at any particular exercise venue that you may wish to participate in, and ideally it'd be something that has your interest, right? Something that you have an interest in, that perhaps you know people that have already succeeded, that are within your social group. Of course, that makes it a lot easier as well if you have friends in that particular fitness community. But the other thing you also need to consider is that, with that particular venue, with that particular exercise type, what is it that you're expecting? What do you want from it, right? And again, and being able to really understand what it is that you're looking for specifically, and how are the changes, what kind of changes in your body, in your life, your overall health and lifestyle. What do those things look like specifically prior to you getting into it? And I think if we actually have a little bit of a checklist rather than doing the typical and very ambiguous, I would like to get into shape, because we know that round is a shape, right? So we already have one. Specifically, what kind of shape are you looking for? If you're wanting to feel better, specifically feel better how? How are you not feeling well? And I think one of the challenges that we really have in the industry is that a lot of people are not, we find that most people coming into the fitness world looking for a result, looking for a remedy, really haven't given it a whole lot of thought. They know that they just know that they're not doing well currently, and they just want to do better as soon as possible. But again, there's not a whole lot of thought given into it, other than, I saw something on TV, I read something in the paper, I saw something in a magazine, I was recommended by a friend, but I really don't know much more about that, and I haven't really given a whole lot more thought. So before you start, you need to get all your ducks in a row. And what I mean by that is that, first of all, you need to decide specifically, right, not just in a very general way, but very specifically, what is it you're looking for from your fitness program? Specifically, what kind of results do you want to see? So if you take into account, and sometimes brutal honesty, well, it's not always a lot of fun, but it's a really important step and a strategy to take, because it'll open your eyes to where you currently find yourself, the reality of what you believe to be true of where you are inside your life. Right? There's nothing worse than actually being deceptive to oneself when we're really trying to move our body forward. And being deceptive to oneself, of course, is just it shows that there's a little bit of fear of what we might see if you kind of pull back the covers of our life and actually start exploring where our health truly is at. Now, it may not be the most comfortable thing in the world to do, but it's the most powerful thing you can do, because again, once you stop hiding away from the reality of where your health currently is, then ideally it should motivate you much more powerfully to take very, very big strides, and of course get on a path and of course never leave it. That's the ideal. So again, taking really great inventory of where you are currently, and being able to articulate that properly, so that if you're dealing with a weight issue and let's say you've got 40 kilos to lose, so aside from the weight you want to lose, what else is going on with your body? What's your digestion like? What's your sleep like? Right? What are your relationships like due to the challenge you have with, of course, with the weight gain? anything's going on with your physical body, that your physical health, what are the limitations that it has created inside your life? Limitations being able to be perhaps functional with your children. Are you able to get on the floor and get up easily? Are you able to go for walks with the kids and play with them, right? All these things are really, again, they're sometimes challenging things to look at, but it's a reality of our life. And if we're not willing to step into that reality, and it's not self-condemnation, we're not actually trying to make ourselves feel bad. And there's a difference between taking inventory and then beating ourselves up for the mistakes that we made that led us to this point in time with our health. Right? Again, personal inventory is really, really important, but do it as a mature adult, acknowledging the fact that, yes, I've made a mistake and I got myself here. However, if I take inventory, at least I can go to my trainer or actually start exploring the options that match the list of things I need to change. Right? Nothing worse than, again, being very ambiguous about where you are and being afraid to explore it, and then choosing the wrong modality and find yourself wasting 2 or 3 months course and of time and money in a particular pattern that doesn't even match the list. So you certainly need the list. The second part, of course, once you have your list, you need to actually look at a modality, or look for a professional that's willing to actually sit down and discuss things with you. And one of the challenges I have inside the fitness world, of course, I'm a bit of a critic of it, but of course, and perhaps maybe unfairly so because I've been in it so long. But when I get into the fitness industry, of course, I was already in the wellness industry anyhow. I was in the wellness industry as a chartered herbalist. I've been training for quite a few years prior to getting into the industry, so I had a pretty good body of knowledge coming into it. So, what you want to be able to look for is that when you're looking for a wellness professional, find somebody that's not 19 years old, right? And nothing against you young trainers, but really just the skill that's required to manage a whole host of concerns that people have generally going to be found in some of the older trainers. So find somebody that's been on planet just a little bit longer than some of the younger trainers. And again, no offense to young trainers again, but again, there's something about maturity and time in the industry that of course lends to a little bit more skill and expertise. So now you have your inventory. You're going to seek out a trainer who has a bit of experience and who can sit down and actually empathize with you. Again, a little bit of maturity always helps. The third part, of course, is actually looking at your schedule and trying to decide, okay, inside my current schedule and how my life is arranged, how much time can I eke out, right? So how much time am I willing to offer that is not a huge stretch? So don't come right out of the gate saying 7 days a week, I'm going to hit it hard and make all the stuff happen in the next 90 days. Right? Yes, you need consistency, and yes, you need a plan. But if you look at the current landscape of your life, how much time are you wasting diddling around, doing this, that, or the other thing, and how much time could you carve out of your day-to-day life throughout the course of the week to really make sure that when you start the program, when you start your initiative, that you've already thought about the time, right? You've already actually thought about it. You've organized it in your brain a little bit. If you need help with babysitting or child minding, of course, you've already thought about that, of course, well in advance. And think these things out so that you don't get obstacles or roadblocks to showing up at the last minute. So now that we have our personal inventory, we know exactly the idea of going forward. We sought out a fitness professional that actually has the skill and the maturity to work with us. Again, assuming that that you may be a more mature client. We've actually looked at our scheduling and know what kind of time that we actually have available to us, of course, throughout the week. So we've already have some idea of, again, when we're going to actually build this in, whether it's a walking program, whether it's yoga, whether it's swimming, aquatics, right? So no matter what it is, we've already kind of reconciled the fact that, yes, we got a bit of time, and if child minding is an issue, I've already thought about that a little bit. So again, we want to be able to prepare for the process of actually gaining control over our health. And I think one of the most important things for me, really, and again, it goes back to part of the inventory part, is the move forward. But one of the biggest mistakes I find that people make in fitness, especially when it's around a weight loss journey, is that they often talk about, the beginning of the journey is that because I allowed myself to get heavy, because I did that, right, I really need to I'm punishing my body forward. I'm really going to beat the hell out of myself to move forward, to get rid of this ugly fat and to become a better person. And the thing is, the interesting thing about that whole process, of course, is that, yes, I mean, it may be self-loathing will get you out of the chair, but it'll never keep you going. I mean, how would it feel if you had a 15-year fitness journey where self-loathing was the only driver that actually got you to the gym? Self-loathing was the only reason why you decided to go to fast on a particular day. I mean, it's not going to feel very good for very long. And yes, we understand why that's there, and of course, but there's always an exaggerated point. I'm pretty sure that people in your particular your circle of influence, your children, your spouse, your friends, will not look at you, and even though, let's say, your body is not perfect, right, whatever that might be, and you've let your health go for a little while, and so that you may have moments, dark moments, where you'll catch yourself perhaps out of the shower, out of a mirror, and you'll be filled with this kind of self-disgust that you let yourself get this far, and the brain spirals over that because there's some other ideal that you think you should be living up to other than where you currently are. And I get it. Yes, we ideally as humans, we shouldn't allow ourselves to do a lot of things. We shouldn't allow our marriages to dissolve. We shouldn't allow our health to dissolve. We shouldn't let our finances dissolve because we're careless. It's part of the human equation, right? So we're not perfect. So one of the things that we look at is we can recognize the mistake that we made to get ourselves here, okay? And that's just a one-stop shop, right? Yes, I allowed this to happen. However, moving forward, with the positive intention of building a life and building my health, building it anew, I'm going to enlist the help of some people that have been there before me. And I'm going to do it for all these positive reasons. I'm going to do it because I want to be a role model to my sisters. I want to be a role model to my kids. And I want to be proud of myself, right? So I want to be proud of myself for moving forward and taking control over my health. When I take control of my health, all of a sudden I'm now a role model to the people I work with. I'm a role model to my community. And one of the excuse me, one of the things that has been well recognized is that anything that needs to change in our world, we look at where we live in a very challenging point in time in history. The change doesn't happen at the top through legislation of trying to find new ways to make people respond, to become responsible. The change always happens at a grassroots level. And it's like a health revolution, right? We want a very positive revolution around our health. And it happens when I do it and I become healthy and people realize that, hey, this guy's almost 54, he's in really good shape. If he can do it and he's leading the way, maybe I can do it too. And the same thing goes for you. So when you decide to take control over your health and can take control over your weight, and as you move forward and as you become a positive influence within your circle of influence. And imagine all these individuals out there, each individual in a community, let's say a community of 100,000 people, that inside each community we have 50 people taking control of their health, and those 50 people are connected to at least a minimum of 6 people, right? So again, you can see how this thing spider webs out in a very powerful way, or ripples out in a really extraordinary way when we decide to take control of our health, when we decide to do it not only for ourselves, for our children, for our family, but we look at community-wide inside of a particular town, that we can actually be a very positive force. Because what ends up happening is that people want to know how you did it. Now, I found even through the length of my career, it's been about 23 years, maybe 25 years, I've been on this path. And what I often tell a lot of people is that, yes, people will often respect what I've done, say, well, it's amazing, look, you have this career, and man, you've got yourself in really great shape. I couldn't do that. Right, so it's so what I quite often realize is that people no longer relate to me as a 50-year-old male, and a lot of people just don't see how that's possible. So yeah, easy for you, not for me. Yeah, but I've got a couple decades on you, right? So, and I've been studying this stuff full time. So what I quite often tell the people I work with is that, listen, what my goal continuously until the day I'm in a pine box is to really to pull things apart and try to find opportunities for people to become successful and regaining their health, and from as many different directions as I can find. Right, I'm a real research buff. I'm fascinated by the whole process. And part of my objective is to, as I go through this journey, is that if I can help a small group of individuals, on a monthly basis, improve the state of health, educate them as much as I can without over confusing the issue. If I can actually work with people who are interested, it's the people that they're connected to that I can actually sort out as well. So it's through you that I get to work through other people. And I've worked with thousands of people over the course of my career. And the beautiful ripple effect is that when let's say when a mother becomes more responsible for her health and actually starts taking it seriously and gets control of her weight and gets control of the whole lifestyle around fitness, that actually the work that I've done on me and through my education and through my career, not only has it affected this individual, but now I've actually affected her kids, and I affected the relationship inside the house, and I affected their ability as an employer, as an employer. I've improved the relationship with them and their friends. Right. So again, we realize that we have a very systemic effect, meaning that there's nothing that I ever can do that's just about me. There's nothing that you ever can do that's just about you. Life, we're just so intertwined and so powerful that we have to realize connected to everything around us, and everything you do, everything I do makes a difference, right? Either for the positive or for the negative. There is no neutral, right? Either we're making a difference or we're creating a problem. So I take that upon myself, which kind of loops back to the very beginning of the conversation, is that when I take inventory, I want to do this for me, but I also want to do this for the world around me as well. I want to be a positive force in the world. And when you look at social media that's full of influencers, and and of course it's just it's a horrible thing that can happen because we compare ourselves to all these amazing influencers. We can be incredible influencers within our own family, like within our own communities, which is really what we're looking for, right? It's great to admire somebody who's got 1 million followers, who looks extraordinary, who's doing and saying all these great things out there on social media. But that's not where the power is, right? The power is with people like ourselves, that inside every community, inside our families, we're trying to right the ship there. And you get enough people doing that, and you can change a whole world that way. But anyhow, guys, just a little quick blurb in here. I'm getting organized for my trip to Australia. So I had an incredible time out there meeting some of our Factor 3 tribe out there. But again, my mission has never changed. And again, my goal is always the same: to educate individuals, to illuminate the process, to make it less confusing, and to really support as many people that are willing to listen. So I'm out here on an ongoing basis, and just really excited to see who shows up, and really excited to see what 2019, the remainder of this year, will look like. I think we have an extraordinary opportunity to do some really amazing things for the rest of this year. Guys, have an amazing rest of the week. God bless, and I'll check in with you soon. All right, bye.